My mission is to absolutely eviscerate them. Not just that they lose, but that they can't even form the opposition. And we can do it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You've destroyed more or less everything that you can possibly destroy, Conservative Party and all your right-wing think tanks. We've had enough. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And tactical voting is the methodology with which we can deliver the absolute swipe, wipe them away, because that's what they deserve.
Carol, hello.
Hello, you.
How are you?
I'm very, very well.
We're going to go straight in.
I'm very excited.
Are you?
Yes, because
what
just days
about?
after Mr. Drip came out to Things Can Only Get Better and said we're having a general election.
Do you know what's funny? We actually have brought a couple of umbrellas with us because we anticipated that there could be some rain.
Yeah, because we anticipated that rain could happen. We had umbrellas. Unlike somebody who asked us, trust me on the economy, trust me on technology, trust me, I'm a tech bro, hey fellow kids. But somehow he loses WhatsApps and everything.
Well, let's start there. So, I mean, you're a mathematician.
I am. Well, engineer and mathematician.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to pull down the title
No.
there. So
It's just mathematicians would complain rather than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, down with
I'm
that
a
sort of thing.
I'm a numbers girl. Yeah.
Okay, so as a numbers girl,
Yeah.
the Conservatives have brought down inflation. They have
Well,
also...
they say they have brought down inflation, and yet when it went up, it was nothing to see here, nothing to do with me. In fact, this Truss has been going around, hasn't she, saying that it was all the fault of media. Did you know that? That the economy crashed. Absolutely nothing to do with her.
Sorry.
I know.
So that, twinned with the stipend that we're now getting with the national insurance rebates, do you think that's enough for the Conservatives to win in the election?
No, they're going to be absolutely annihilated, as they deserve to be. And I'm part of, as you know, the movement Forward, which is all about proportional representation. But we have an arm called Stop the Tories, Stop Vote, which is a tactical voting website. And we hope and think that we will have over 10 million people will type in their postcode to that. We're all volunteers.
10 million?
Yeah. Because of when we've done it on the local elections, and we're just on social media, we have no advertising spend or anything like that. We had just under 1 million page views for the last local elections. And it's building now, because general election is very different, as we know. Everyone's engaged, aren't they? So rather than local. So yeah, I would say 10 million.
So talk to us a little bit about that. So explain that. So explain how you're going to, how does that system work?
So tactical voting is such, and we are Stop the Tories. So you will go from Thursday onto our website and type in your postcode. From there, it will say you are now in this constituency, because obviously there are an awful lot of new constituencies. Based on the algorithms that we have and polling, the latest polling, it is likely that for instance, in my seat, it's either Thangham Debonair or Carla Denyer, because I'm in Bristol Central. So we would then say, we're not recommending vote with your heart. If it's a Conservative, who is the current Member of Parliament, we would say we'd recommend Liberal Democrat or Labour or whoever as the tactical vote. So, for instance, I think we were looking at one the other day, I was kind of talking about it, in Henley and Tame. And at the moment, the polling says the Conservative would have 37% of the vote. I think Lib Dems were 30 and Labour was 21. So we would, in that circumstance, say vote Lib Dem, rather than split the vote between other anti-Tory parties, if you like. Now, if you take the 2019 election voting, and you said that the Conservatives and those who voted for sort of right-wing, whether it's UKIP or whoever, voted the same way, and everybody who didn't vote for them, who voted Labour, Lib Dem, Green, whatever it might be, or Independent, if all of those people had voted tactically, instead of the Conservatives having 365 or whatever they had, because they've have many fewer now, don't they? At the time of the election, they would have ended up with 3 members of parliament, not 360 something. They would have had just 3. That's the power of tactical voting. And I am going for a target of them only getting 35 members of parliament.
35.
35.
Wow.
A year ago I said 85 and everyone, oh, you're being ridiculous, you're this, that and the other. And quite a lot of polling is predicting that without taking tactical voting into account. So I'm going for 35.
But the problem that we have is that we're still in a first past the post system. And so after this election, do you think that you'll really begin your campaign for proportional representation?
Yeah. So at the movement forward, there are an awful lot of people who want proportional representation. That in the Venn diagram is the politics that we want. We disagree on many policies. We're not a political party. We're just after PR, effectively, and to hold any new government to account. So what we want to do is gain about 1 million people who are part of the movement. At the moment we're up to 150,000, and so we're working all hours over the next 5 or 6 weeks in order to build that, so that we can then have a voice to say, we have loaned you our vote. All of you there, we have lent you our vote. But this is what we want, because we don't ever want to have to tactically vote again.
So that's the trade-off then. So this election you're seeing it as sort of a courtesy vote, and
yes.
then moving on to the next election.
Correct.
That's when okay. So the concern with that, though, I suppose, would be a party like Reform.
Yeah.
Polling at the moment between 11 to 12%.
Yep.
That
would have a place at the table.
Well, they would have maybe 65 seats in Parliament.
Then that is what should happen with PR. But I think it's very interesting when certain polling companies look at, if you could have a free vote and if there was proportional representation, who would you vote for? And the Greens come out really strongly, much stronger than in a poll now using our system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if every vote did count, the Greens would do it an awful lot better.
And do you think that's also because a lot of people, like typically, if they're in a constituency where they think it's going to be a Labour win, they don't want to give their vote to Green?
Correct.
Concerning that,
yes,
because they're concerning
absolutely, because we are trained through history, because it's the only system we've ever had of who you're going to vote for. It's either blue or red. Well, occasionally I might go a bit sort of yellowy or a bit green, but it's. We're trained to pick one or the other. It's a 2-horse race. It is a 2-horse race. So it would be very different with proportional representation. I think you would find the percentages change massively.
And do you think then that would give more agency or more choice to young people? Because, looking at the beginning of this campaign, both campaigns, Labour and Conservative, I wouldn't say either of the party are really pitching themselves toward young people.
Well, I would disagree with that slightly, because Labour came out this morning saying we would give the vote, or may give the vote, to 16 and 17-year-olds, as currently happens in Wales and Scotland for the devolved parliaments and for local elections. So, I think, and then you have the Tories on the other side making it up as they went along about national service. James Cleverly was on an interview this morning and he really did sound as though he was making policy up on the hoof, like it was all a big surprise to him, about national service. So
I felt like I knew more about the policy than he did.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And would you then charge, 18-year-olds who refuse to take part? Well, we would have to conduct, but you could tell, just making it up on the hoof. They know they've lost. My mission is to absolutely eviscerate them, not just that they lose, but that they can't even form the opposition. And we can do it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And that, it genuinely is. I first voted in the 1979 general election when Thatcher had a landslide victory. And Jim Callaghan at the time said, he said around every 30 years there's a sea change in politics, where it's almost as though the entire British population goes, No, we've had that now. We've had capitalism now to the extent that we have. We've had corruption. We're not having that anymore. You've destroyed more or less everything that you can possibly destroy, Conservative Party and all your right-wing think tanks. We've had enough. And I feel that I feel the same this year as we had back then. You know, it's complete sea change in different directions, obviously, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And tactical voting is the methodology with which we can deliver the absolute swipe, wipe them away, because that's what they deserve.
So you don't think that that National Service is going to be the big vote winner?
I'm not. I won't think twice about that. If I was 18 and go, don't lose any sleep, love.
What do you think about that as a policy?
What, National Service? It's absolutely ridiculous. I was the ambassador for Royal Air Force Air Cadets for 10 years until very recently, and it was a joy. And I don't know what the exact numbers are now, but you're talking about many tens of thousands of young people, aged 12 to 20, and also many thousands of adult volunteers. And these organisations are wonderful. Army cadets, obviously Navy, Royal Navy, you have the Scout movement, you have the Girl Guide movement, you have St John's Ambulance, you have all sorts of different wonderful organisations working with young people. All this absolute claptrap, oh, young people are lazy. No, they're not. And far better to take an element of this budget that they found from nowhere and help these organisations. They're already set up, you know, to help the kids who want to do it. I was beginning to feel exhausted with even having to think about Conservative Party politics and policy. So when he announced the election, honestly, I've been on the high ever since. I'm like dancing around the office. Hey, here we go. Things can only get better. Oh,
that's your sound of the summer, yeah?
Huh?
That's your sound of the summer.
Oh, is it ever?
What do you think about reform there? So we've talked about the potential of proportional representation
Yes.
to deliver them quite a number of seats. In first past the post, they're on track possibly to regain Lee Anderson's seat. Richard Tice is also quite convinced that he'll win his seat as well.
Who will?
Richard Tice.
In Skegness?
Apparently, yes.
In Skeggy?
He's quite confident that he can
Is
win
he
that.
now? Yeah. Well, of course they do come out with a lot of bullshit, don't they? So, yeah, let's wait and see, shall we?
Do you think that the British public are are tired by that dog whistle racist politics?
Not everybody, because some people want dog whistle politics. And you will always have that element in any society, in any community. You'll have 10% who are just like that, and you will have another 10% who can be persuaded to be of that opinion. Might even be more than that. They're my kind of rough estimates, but you can't stop that. And I think to say we can't have, we want proportional representation, but we don't want them, you can't do that. That's not a democracy. So if they earned their seat, their seats, then they should have their seats. Much as I wholly disagree with them and really think they're a disgrace to society, but that is what democracy should be.
Would you agree with what one Conservative strategist had to say about how Rishi Sunak should be structuring his election campaign? He said that there should be more people like Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman out on the trail, I suppose because they sort of pull the rhetoric to the right. I think
there's nothing they can do to save themselves. Conservative strategist. Is that really a job?
I believe it was also Johnny Mercer who was wanting.
My friend.
Yes.
Bless him.
Let's talk a little bit about media. So GB News have written a piece about you today. where
that's kind.
they uncover your plan because it had been a huge secret before.
Oh, had it really?
Well, to stop the Tories.
Even though I've been tweeting about 5 times a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they've uncovered it now.
And they've uncovered it?
Yes.
Is that because of their truly brilliant investigative journalism? Because somebody actually looked at my timeline on Twitter? Is that amazing?
Do you find it frustrating that when, say, you have a campaign, you are sort of painted as this liberal, mad left-winger who's going to disrupt all of politics, but they're a right-wing channel, and
honestly, I don't give a monkey's what they say. I genuinely, I'll be 64 this year. I've had my career, made a bit of money, I have a very nice life, and the people who are really dangerous, as you will have seen with those ladies trying to break into for the Magna Carta, you know, the most dangerous people in this country are women who are post-menopause because they don't give a stuff. I don't care what they say about me. I genuinely don't care. And that gives you power when you don't care. And I don't care. It's GB News, for goodness sake.
Do you worry about what it does to the landscape,
No.
though? You don't think it...
No, I genuinely don't worry about it. The thing is, because I've been like on the telly for decades, 40-something years, I've had everything written about me that could possibly be written. There is nothing left to write. And I'm enjoying it. I genuinely am enjoying it.
What do you think about Conservative presenters that are still on the station? Do you think that that's something...
GB News?
Yeah, on GB
We're still on
News.
GB News?
We're still on GB
Oh,
News,
no!
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I have nothing left to say about
Okay.
GB News.
We'll leave that, we'll leave that.
Genuinely.
How would you
They
change...
don't matter, nobody watches. Nobody watches. They've lost 76 million quid since they started. They're making redundancies. And I would guess by the end of next year, if not before, they'll be taken off air and just go online.
Do you think that
Like
we've
Talk
sort
TV.
of, I mean, even me asking these questions, do you think we sort of lent into the moral panic around them and sort of amplified them more than what they're worth?
I think people in the media have. I don't think people outside have.
Oh no, I meant me. I was blaming myself.
Well, okay, yes, then. I think you pay too much attention to them.
Yeah.
You give them, you know, like, who are they? Literally. They don't matter. The instance with you was very important, and that was kind of a landmark moment when, quite rightly, you know, they were both suspended and it was a breach of Ofcom regulation. That was important. And I think it was important because it put a line in the sand for all media. But I don't think GB News is important. I'm kind of bored of talking about them,
But
actually.
have we grown up really? Because we even have, you've had a Conservative politician, you know, talk about how, you know, you
Is that Sean Bailey?
You look in it a certain way and therefore you're not allowed to have a political opinion. And I
Again, you know, I saw that. So, no, I didn't actually, because I never watch it. Somebody sent me it and said, have you seen what Sean Bailey... This was in December. And so I think I must have watched it on YouTube or something. I thought, gotcha. I'll just save that one until after New Year. So I put it out a week later. Sexist Sean, hashtag. Boom. Yeah.
Do you find it hard that you have to carry the weight of that? Because you're sort of setting a precedent for the next, you know, for all other women who are in media. By you taking the brunt of that, you are setting the precedent that that's not acceptable.
But I think my age group, we've always been at the bow wave simply because that's how society has been. So, you know, when we were growing up, you weren't expected to have a career even, you know. I always wanted to be a fighter pilot in the RAF. And, you know, I grew up in poverty and I was a free school meals kid and all of those different things. Went to a comp in North Wales and I was clever. And I was a year ahead, and at 17, my God, I could go to university. That was unheard of, just for a woman to go to university. And because I was good at maths and physics and everything, I thought, and I've got to be a pilot, what shall I do that's most appropriate? Engineering. Where's the best university? And I'd heard of this place called Cambridge. There was no internet then or anything like that. It was, the only information you had was in the library at school, that was it. So, okay, right, I'll apply there. I had no idea that girls and comprehensives on free school meals weren't meant to. But somehow or other I got in, and I went at age 17. And and I met, you know, not in my college wasn't a particularly posh college, but obviously through getting out and about, you meet all these posh people. And I just thought they were all so childish, because I was out in nightclubs in Manchester when I was 15 or 16, you know, it was quite sort of streetwise. So
with an IQ that I think would blow most of the country out the water.
Yeah, but it was, and then when I graduated, I thought, right, here I am, Royal Air Force, you know, I'm going to be a pilot. Well, you couldn't, because you didn't have a willy, and obviously a willy is very important in order to be able to fly a fighter aircraft.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, women were allowed to fly, but that was too late for me. So going back to the question, it's like you're at the bow wave all the time of you know, being first to do this and first to do that. So it's like, I mean, genuinely, it's all your life is like that. First woman on Channel 4, first woman to do this, first woman to do that. And that's not like, look at that, I'm the first woman to do that. It's just like you had to break, you know, through the glass ceiling, the windows, the floor, everything, break down the door really to try to get an opportunity. It just becomes what you do.
And we thank you.
Oh. I just love it. My daughter's 13, how old is she now? 32. And she's a proper research scientist. She's a PhD, Cambridge, in nanotech. And she's just got a space startup company. And I love that she can do all of these things that we absolutely couldn't have done. And she won a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, I'm turning into a grandmother now, she'd kill me. So it's a space startup company, and she won a massive award, which was the world's top female innovator of the year award. And I just think that's fantastic.
It's astonishing.
You know, yeah, for anybody to be able to do that is just wonderful.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, oh, she's amazing, like her. And I love seeing young women do well and standing up for themselves. Very important that women stand up for themselves a lot more than they do, and that politics changes, you know, that it's still geared to men. I'm not talking about the number of female MPs, but the policies themselves tend to be geared to men. What about women's safety? You know, what about safety online, but safety in the streets? What about all of those things? They just seem to go back a little bit. So I'm hoping Jess Phillips will make a big difference with that.
Do you think that's been the fault of the Conservatives then? Do you think that they have halted or pulled back on social mobility? You know, whether that is economic or whether that is to do with your gender, do you think they've hindered progression?
Yes, I think they do. I think there's very little understanding. It was quite, you know, when you start to look at it, they kind of have at least two tiers of Conservatives. So they, you know, you have the posh boys, Etonians and the Winchesters, Eton B, and so on. I won't tell you about policy about that, but that's about 2/3 of the cabinet. And then you have the ones they throw out to appeal to the red wall, you know, like Lee Anderson and Gullis and Clark Smith and all of that lot, you know, the sort of, and the Esther McVeighs. I should have worn my rainbow lanyard.
Yeah, where is it?
I've been wearing it for about a week.
Well, you've just fallen into their trap, haven't you? You've stopped representing.
No, I love that. That winds them up. And they don't give a monkey's. Posh boys, Tories are going to lose. They're going to lose magnificently. And they don't care about the others. And it sort of says a lot about their attitude to the public as well. They don't give a monkey's toss about the general public. Show me evidence where they do. You can't give me any. And I think it's the same within their own circles. Yeah.